phenomenon Jesus doing things for free. And that should stop. There is an elite society on the planet that are elite because they have learned things like that. They have learned to recognize where are the next Jesuses. And they have learned how to make good money out of them. It is time to stop. I have sent my letter in United Nations. I expect my title, my property, my recovery of my historic heritage related infrastructure. That is basically, I have asked for protocol to be returned to me. Protocol monarch to be returned to this level of performance and to be used as a standard for any future time. And this level of reincarnation happen, it's not to be Jesus, but monarch of earth, as that is the real answer. And that is my request. That is how we close this event. There is therefore now in a bill sent to the earth for the job done, as with everything else on this planet. When a person come and do a work, they send you invoice. Well, I am sending invoice to the planet as well. That is how we close this conversation. Earthians, Jesus became monarch of earth now, as that is who he was. In this case scenario, she, his mother as well. And as I have said, that is a story of actual imperial family. We have to clarify here, because of the latest war happening between Israel and Palestine, we are talking here about territory above all at the historic times. So that would be certainly, therefore, Palestine as well included here within the historic relevance to imperial cross bloodlines. That most probably, we still here, not most probably, but clearly we still talk about actually events that coincidence and are described within as of Macedonian history, ancient history. This is momentum associated to Cleopatra, to events with Cleopatra and Roman history, and I mean Roman imperialism. This is the story of Caesar's Cleopatra. So the kids of Cleopatra running away. So we talk about that particular event. Next generation of that is Jesus happening. It is in question imperial bloodline. And I am talking here of 2 millenniums. The Roman imperialism obviously related elite. Very much accommodated to use references to this bloodline, to that bloodline, for ongoing exploitation and base for ongoing accumulation of wealth. That is breaking point today between America and Palestine and Israel, and America and Balkan, for example. That is Serbia, Macedonia, Greece. And this territory is constantly being held at the breaking point. And America and Roman imperialism sitting there, still existing based on these territorial happenings and on exploiting of these territorial events. That is where we find conflicting line with America. And that is where America jumped today again to mock my work, to humiliate my positions, and to go away with it, and to play dirty games, as we are sorry, we have made mistakes, and so on. No, they knew exactly what they're doing, they knew exactly what's happening, and knew exactly what they're supposed to do. To get the ball in the hole. Escalate, not just, and escalate everything that they can possibly escalate from a character. And that is why I bring now my complaint in United Nations, and I launch this against America on first account. Against Roman imperialism of America, but I have established also that behind Octavian of Roman imperialism are actually Celts. And that Celts are actually very much surfacing Roman imperialism itself as a result of what we discussed. Became phenomenon of Italy being a loser in America as well, and the concept of rotten children emerging as a result. And where this entire basin, Mediterranean basin, become basin for production of rotten children, and in the final line here we have the Celts actually possession. That is, we are actually reaching beyond Roman imperialism, the tribunal setting, where this Celtic, especially Celtic related historic concept, as tribunal, as it is hedge stone, things like that, stone hedge, they become on the surface, and they become actually directing this entire historic, ongoing historic saga of ongoing extreme exploitation of someone's work, integrity, dignity, and property. And that will need to stop. We talk therefore especially about Mediterranean region being here target and existing as a basin for exploitation. And I'm talking about the historic basin of Mediterranean direct, that is ancient Macedonia, ancient Greece, and surrounding territories, all the way to Palestine and Israel. That is where America is to be blamed on first account. And that is where Russians and situation in Russia become second problem. Where Russians also rather appear as the one that can claim actually. Now that's another question: whose territorial tails or presences are within the bloodline, within that principal bloodline, imperial bloodline of the times, and who found here being a principal investor in such kind of economy, should I call it now, because that is what they have ended up calling it. But one to be blamed predominantly is Western concept of civilizational development of the present times. And to speak about preserving it, it is as foolish as it can be when one, instead to defend first its own field, attempted immediately to solve a variety of problems. But I never moved too much away from the concept of principal imperial bloodlines and Jesus concept of Jesus bloodline and concept and protocol of imperial bloodline. I think that on every single page, that is what actually I have been talking all of these years. And I think that I have been actually developing and defending exactly this statement in exactly this case. And that is how I'm presenting my work actually to the planet. And that is how I'm going to now close my further assistance free of charge to the planet. Because planet should not accommodate itself to something like that anymore. Certainly not in 21st century. And also I have to enclose here or to highlight the degree of monstruosity they continue to employ in the way how they handle this entire event, as they have been using my own father and my own mother by making them at initial point to make agreement with the devil, using obviously their politically built in socialism regime conditions as young people, using their political inflaming and moment of weakness to make them to make agreement for a devil. And then, as the devils have been pushing them to go against their own daughter, also being also the most ambitious and the most should I say with higher potential to build some kind of presence. I was most studious and most paying attention to details and having higher standards than my siblings. That was obvious. They have been made to go against their own daughter and to humiliate her and arrange all sorts of negative events to go my way. I can only imagine how hard that would have been for a parent. They made them to burn on their own mistakes. They've made them to burn on their own mistakes. Equally, they have done to my kids. To make them to burn or presenting the work of their mother to the public under conditions where everyone was laughing at their mother. That is not going to be easy for any kid. Yet, not just the devils, but this planet was just enjoying their time and participating in that madness. This planet today walks with the devil, not with God. And they appear to not to mind at all. That is where this planet is today. But you will remember properly, in a consequence of how you have related to my work, you today do not walk with God. You are walking with the devil. I'm speaking to a planet. I'm speaking also to a planet that continue to be selfish, continue to think only of themselves, and appear to be absolutely not interested to do anything about all of the complaints I have launched on the planet. Or if they attempt to do it, then again are extremely selfish. Yes, I'm referring to a planet. Because that planet is denying me normal working conditions for 15 years and continue to fight for their own presences and their own positioning. Some kind of future shareholding event. This planet is not ready to become Earth. Then how, with whom on earth they would be dancing, if not with devils? This is making harder to split this world to old and new world, because usually the one that gets targeted here would have been at the crossing point of the two worlds, as it is every next generation, as that is, I have equally argued, the best way how to look at the times and territories living in the times, and from there emerging into new times. With our protocol human is about somehow improving human. And it is very hard to draw the line here and call someone old society and then someone new society, and no one wins here. It is much more correct to see human as ever evolving event within the parameters of civilizational development, and what civilization usually imposes upon us, mostly as a matter of our choices. We are making these choices to admit to much more sophisticated, more advanced, more organized life, and in doing so, we depart from a direct contact with nature. Our human mind and our entire human existence is much more complex than of animals. And our 100 years old, approximately, living is not going to be satisfied today with living in a forest with the rest of the animals. We would be bored. There is not enough playground for our much more complex beings. We have worked out today as a modern within our as a part of equally what is part of human, this kind of constant drive for something different, for some different perspective, for some different insight, from different solution. I'm not going to go too much out of some standard line that we always tend to be equally enough traditional enough, wise enough, connected to our true nature and our true feelings and our true identity. That continue to be our choice to present times. And then we go and improve, mostly improve our living and allow ourselves to be assisted, to be facilitated with our activities, and have chosen to devote more time to something that is much more occupying our minds with more of excitement and adventure as it is traveling. We all see that as an ideal lifestyle. Well, we can afford a standard quality of living and then also traveling and meeting people in different cultures, speaking to people, making friends, and embracing these positive feelings and positive exchange of opinions, experiences, and things like that. So our life is much more complex. Returning in forest is not what we would be dreaming of and what we are dreaming of. So I want to say, drawing the line here between old and new is rather artificial. It's done by someone that wanted to control the both worlds. And that is exactly the planet on which we live. By splitting everything on this planet in whatever way, as far as they could have split it, they have created perfect conditions to manipulate each of the environments. So we cannot accept that polarization, certainly not to continue to alienate it or antagonize it. That is not where are our answers. Our answers is in understanding that modern human is unavoidable and rather answer that we all build and we all tend to deliver by our drive to constant improvement of our experiences of living on this planet, and yet not losing the sense of identity and sense of historic endurance. That is our nature. That is how we are being, how we exist in this realm. Therefore, human ongoing improvement, sophistication happens here as a result of improved lifestyle. That is not where we draw the line with older societies. We continue. We are the same one that have continued to develop. And they are the ones that are being prevented to continue to improve their lifestyles, as it has been done in Palestine right now. They're returning to the misery out of which they were running away. And someone does not allow them to step up. And that is how someone is holding them in category of all societies permanently, and preventing them a civilization, and that is wrong. Such approaches are wrong. And to split civilizations on this planet and cultures on this planet, on old and new, is equally wrong, and that should stop as well. Not necessarily by mixing people. You don't need to mix people. You don't need to mix cultures. But you have to stop preventing them to accomplish their required level of development. And that's going to work as best for everyone. The new world is not going to have that much immigrants. The immigrants, they would not know what to do with them. And there is a very simple solution to it. Not building a wall, Mr. Trump. Taking their kids away of them and treating them as their animals. No, that cannot be a solution. And now he's asking for second term. He made a mistake in the first term. No one gets a second term elected by making mistakes. The solution is to improve conditions of their living on their own territories. And that would cost, with same amount of money that you have been wasting to defend yourself from them and to build these expensive walls, you could have just improved the living on their own territories. And that would be much more permanent and much more logical way to do it. But to treat someone as animal and to talk of someone as animal, that is never going to make you human enough either. I am very confident that what I have said here and worked out in these 10 years is the best possible answer. It is the correct answer. I have given credit to X protocol, recognizing that each of the two sides of this equation, that is either the descending gods or the humans of Earth, are not self-sufficient in what we created today as our recognizable stamp of human, that is measured by the standards of integrity, honorability, having spine, having character and integrity. These are magna features. Character, integrity, honorability. These are all associated to the past features that have been somehow recognized and glorified and rightful. And main reason why I have reincarnated today these features is because I have recognized them as a critical point of the entire concept of human, defining this spine of humanity, the vertical point of humanity, point of critical point of honesty, rather than to build out of lies, manipulations, tricking someone, and playing behind someone's back and being dishonest and being disrespectful and being unhonorable. In substance, it all ends in being unhonorable. And somehow we have to recognize that there is on west side, equal as in far east, the remains of that kind of real, genuine honorability. I can find it also on the prime territories of West to some extent. I wouldn't like to call this romantic, but also very much it is rather metaphysical. It is rather a matter of that predominantly when matter of most general assessment of the Western sentiment. And of course, we always need to bring forward the qualitative dimension, the standard. I know that I am here stepping again much more into idealism as a craft, a woman, than walking on the ground. But that is what this is. It is somehow working still on and very much standing working with the clouds, and here catching within these vibes the times and the standards built within the times. I'm catching them in the vibes as the vibes in the clouds, and it cannot be in any other way. It is idealism. It is in this kind of work. What we talk, it is idealism. It is how it should be. It is more about that star on our forehead that we all try to live by. That is what this kind of works are about. And yes, it is correct when what I have heard today, the opinion that you cannot bring this level of idealism into day-to-day governing function. But yes, that is why I'm not applying for position in government. That is why I'm bringing monarchy. But I cannot agree that place of this kind of function is on the list of unemployed trading assets. I think that is absolutely unacceptable. And I think that Serbia today does not have answer for one or another reason, cannot afford to answer this properly. And because it cannot afford to answer this properly, it cannot be assumed as a territory that does have the answer. Neither for that matter Macedonia, that does not even try to bring some kind of philosophical idealism, that is so much tuned into street affairs, that lost any attachment to amphitheaters. I think that it is a matter of some kind of politics there. In any case scenario, we can conclude that the territories do not have suitable, I'm going to say again, infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, I don't think exactly government. I think the entire cultural setting, actually, including historic heritage built in times. Basically, I rather want to say it does not have cultural build-up or cultural setting. It does not have that level of romanticism. And I doubt that these territories are capable to deliver that level of romanticism I'm talking about here. I think that these territories have been always existing on high level of pragmatism, practical mind, and that is why they would be walking closer to the earth levels. Well, my presentation is much more on the sky level. And whatever that was historically, it is closer to this sense, to this vibe I present, I deliver, and were presented on these over pragmatic territories. It appear in category of full, and these over pragmatic, very practical minds just stab you in the back, discredit you, vulgarize you, vandalize you, because you're not like them. And they go away with conclusion, assumption and conclusion that they are the correct one, and that my side is too naive, too pure, they're calling it new, also I'm calling it eternal, saintly, spiritual, metaphysical, preceding the creation itself. So I would find their positioning of over pragmatic perspective, and then categorizing me as crazy, or as a lunatic, or as fool that can vandalize like this, just is a testimony how deep our differences are, and how deeply inappropriate these cultural settings are, and how far they are actually some kind of matrix to this kind of planetary ugliness that we are experiencing in all of the times. And here I'm going to question today, although most of the time I'm attacking these Celts that are having that kind of attitude. But in the same time, these Celts are the one that are bringing this kind, that are actually associated to this kind of personality that I bring here. And I have said I don't want to play Jumanji, and I have said I don't want to someone to immediately bring my words on the ground. I have asked for office. I have asked for assistance. You have chosen to play blind tennis on me on daily basis, and the risk is with you, not with me. And if I'm changing every single day, well, that is because I'm being kept in isolation. Because I'm not being given information, I'm not being given insight, I'm not being given assistance. And I really can't understand the planet finding itself relying on this kind of work to great an extent. Because I can't see anyone else bringing this level of analysis today, and yet providing me zero assistance. I just can't understand. Just can't understand. But I cannot go with over-pragmatic societies that have zero ground with me, zero common denominator with me. And I attack these Celts all the time. But actually, 80% of my identity is on that side of the equation. And how we are going to explain that? Purity is with them. The spine is with them. And that is, these are main ingredients, is spine, having a spine, showing up, standing for something, having that kind of daring and integrity, and purity are what bring the honorability and all of this historic heritage greatness that our history is full of. And we might find, as in any history making, and as in any societies, negative elements and some kind of negative performances, but we also have the best of and the virtue of performances. And why we, in this occasion, are being focused only on the tail of certain cultural setting, and we have not bothered enough to notice the virtue of this kind of settings, the virtue of various cultural settings. Have we not said and promised to any of the cultures to look at the best of its performances and abolish the worst? And now someone continued to bring forward the worst and hide the best performances. And have that biased attitude, self-promoting themselves, hiding their negative aspects, promoting their positive, if there is any really, out of this kind of greed and just over-established positions, and sucking everything out, which is basically Democratic Party. It is not a Republican Party, it's Democratic Party. there the rotten system here. Although, as I have said, it is very hard to go with some kind of uniformity when it is in question cultural setting, and especially in longer period of time. But we would be unfair and we would be biased if we continue to promote certain cultures as the best of, and then to talk of certain cultures as the worst of, because that is not how cultures happen. They happen equally as people. You have the bad ones, but also you have the good ones. And that is how we should be talking about cultures as well. That is how we should be talking about cultures as well. Any other approach is absolutely unfair, and it would not be of any correctness. Each of the cultures needed to survive, and in earlier of the times, all the cultures appear to be predators. They have been all predators. We cannot finger point now at just one culture being predator and the other are not being predator. So the time is that we need to provide much more self-critical approach to each of the cultural settings and think forward how to bring the best of you and synchronize your cultural setting and cultural heritage with demands of the present times. I'm going to say again, it is very hard to locate territory where you would find in prevalence certain qualitative features. I think it would always be associated to personal performance and to specifics of personal performance, and then we would expect societies to follow. It would be just waste of time to use any other approach. Monarchy does not go down. Monarchy as a planetary concept cannot go down because it is profoundly embodied in the entire concept of civilizational identity. I'm using here reference also to identity. We are talking here about cultural identities. I am, in other words, afraid to lose the track with the concept of cultural identity and concept of civilizational identity. I have pulled out concept of historic heritage, which need to be amended now. Need to be amended. And the beastie approaches need to be replaced with correct approaches. In other words, I want to reestablish to replace the wrong headquarter and the wrongly defined monarchy with correctly defined monarchy. As I believe, there is monarchy order is natural order. I mean, it is based on our genetics. It is a reflection of our genetics, and it has been played down for a longer period of time and manipulated. So it is a matter of building, of establishing identity house, after all. And you can say that one identity house, it has to be closed. But we cannot say the identity house of Earth is to be closed, because it doesn't make any sense. In contrary, it will need to be reestablished in correct terms, that is, by the correct person. I also don't want waste. That I don't want waste, something that has been accomplished in all of the historic time, to be wasted now all of the sudden and to be destroyed like that. I do not talk therefore about network of creatures. I talk about network of stepping away from creatures and finding human in the process of stepping away from creatures and stepping away from human being a creature, not order of returning to the creatures or to the human creature, but order of human stepping away from being creature. To me, that is important. It is important as indicator of continuing to build the house of standards and house of behavior. I have found building house of behavior as a critical point to becoming human. But house of behavior would be nothing without recognizing the principal identity house, where house of reason becomes principal event. So we talk here about one house, of course, where that becomes therefore not just house of order, a house of principality of behavior, before to be also house of identity and house of reason. Or talking about house of conduct and behavior, without talking at the same time of house of reason and house of identity, house of persona and personality. We would not be talking enough about human. Human is not just about order and legal system. Human begins with identity. And yes, undoubtedly with a reason attached to that identity, because human is intelligent being, is most intelligent than any other species. We need to certify it equally at the point of intelligence, at the point of identity, therefore. And then we talk about protocol of conduct and behavior. Or otherwise, it would not make any sense. We are here within the protocol and by the protocol to certify human. And that should be clear and properly done. We are to certify human. The conduct is not going to be enough of a certification. It will need to be about identity above all, or we might find ourselves losing human in the way how that happens now today in Europe and elsewhere in the world. We are actually losing human. And I'm going to continue to be amazed, Europe, how you continue to lead my work and lead my conversation by adding up each day your one or two sentences. One or two sentences to cap up my entire work, Europe, is not going to be enough European. And I'm going to question today Europe before it becomes certified as it is right now. If Europe is not enough European, then that's not going to be Europe. And by the way, why it sounds like a reference to roar. Roaring. I'm not a roaring person. You made me to be roaring. And I'm certainly nothing of raw. I found you rather sleazy, slimy, and without a spine. I found you criminal. I found you at the point of sorrow. You do not have a right to declare Europe. You have lost Europe today. And that name of that continent appears to be not correct to its actual nature. And that is why we find people in Spain stabbing the bulls and people in England eating the fish. Because that Europe became antipode to its own identity. Would Europe be anything without their best Renaissance makers? At the point of beginning of the entire concept of civilizational order, or keeping it and maintaining it, money does not exactly come in perspective or what you of something that you're going to think first about, isn't it? How on earth in your case scenario they came so much on the upper scale of the events that you are to think about and organize around? That proves how far you found yourself wrongly positioned in regard of the entire matter. I'm going to blame socialism for everything, and behind it I'm recognizing tribunalism. And I'm going to recognize and question today a civilization that starts with excavation of resources and exploitation of resources. Any single encyclopedia, when you open the first page, always about any nation, always first start, and about overall description of the planet, starts before any historic event, before any story to take place, or even legend. It starts with excavation, with depicting, as the most sober and more objective approach, depicting of resources all over the planet, and describing national identity via their exploitation of resource infrastructure. That is what has been legitimized on this planet. That is how the history book of this planet starts. It starts with charting and mapping of resources and nations that are leading with exploitation of resources. Well, today it seems we are going to use that information in other way around approach to notice that these territories that are the highest in exploitation of natural resources are actually also higher or highest in exploiting their own history and their own historic identity. And I'm going to remember Mr. America, Mr. President of America, that President Putin, I remember him, that he bravely said on global television, he bravely said, well, we just need to follow orders by the patrons down there. And we have to invest now in exploitation because we are being ordered by the patrons. And now someone is talking about Putin not being good enough president. Oh, he was brave enough to say something like that. I'm not sure that your Navalny said anything even close by like that. There is a difference between Putin and Navalny. Putin belonged to the genetics of the principal imperial bloodline, and your Navalny does not belong there. Putin belongs in the charting of principal historic, I'm not going to say assets, I'm going to say identities, belong to the ancient library. And your Navalny is more distant in that context. And to the extent that America is equally that much distant, of course America is going to support the one that is more distant than the one that is more closer to the actual truth. That is what America is, and that is how far America can be trusted in this kind of scenarios and in this kind of conversation. Today I have rounded the yesterday's and today's sentiment. Yesterday, my sentiment was, I can't let you out of leash for what I have done here. And then the following day's sentiment was listening to your comments on YouTube. I can't let you to decide on behalf of monarchy You cannot decide about that protocol as outsider. It is not your house to talk about. It's not your protocol to talk about. You cannot decide about it. You cannot decide freewillingly about anything of such significance before providing very thoroughful and arguing about your positions. You're not capable to provide thoroughful critiques or opinion about certain decision making. You are in wrong. You have not managed to defend your positions, but you allow yourself to go in action, to walk on this earth without demonstrating sufficient level of integrity and capacity to walk on that scale of events and to cause such scale of changes on earth. And we discussed enough what happened in last century because random people would jump on the stage and bring such profoundly significant decision making with profound impact, but people rarely are aware of the consequences of their decision makings. They're much easier to find themselves believing that they really bring that capacity and that rightfulness to bring that level of decision making. And when mistakes happen and when it is about to be taken responsibilities, no one is that easy to step up and accept responsibility. That is how easy people are in each new time to step ahead and provide leadership or some kind of opinion, just throw it on the stages, on principal stages, like it is a morning breakfasting question. People should not be so easy deciding on most important matters about the management of this planet without defending properly their positions. Have we understood what were the instructions of Queen Elizabeth in her last days? Or I have to notice she was quite, I haven't seen her so much alive in her entire public presentation in her previous appearances, then how she became a completely new person after I started to deliver my work. She became she became just alive again. So do we know what have been her instructions before she died? Today, so many people are eager to speculate about the future of monarchy, but no one is enough interested to find out what these people instructed. Would you not assume that they would be actually the one to be held still as authorities of the protocol, which they have been presenting and defending on this planet for entire last century? Would it not be enough appropriate that we hear their opinion, not just opinion on various journalists and various capital owners? Would not their opinion matter equally, if not higher? And why we have not heard at all yet anything about their actual statements about in relation to work I have delivered, and what would have been their instructions in relation to monarchy? Excuse me, I'm going to find this now legal question, and this planet, with all of the set of legal institutions or legal principles, will need to fulfill that legal liability and deliver what have been their statements before their death. I'm talking about both Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth. I have been criticizing monarchy to a great extent, but also we established that a woman in the recent civilizational developments of last century, two last millenniums, have become such victim has been embodied within the systems and within the protocols. And here I cannot blame Queen Elizabeth because she was holding position of a woman. I can blame monarchy as a protocol and how the monarchy as a protocol ended, but I cannot blame Queen Elizabeth as a woman. I think that she was a victim as the rest of the women on this planet. And that is why I would value her opinion in her last days. And what would be her instructions? Rather than that she is the one to follow the instructions, as most of the time she was actually doing during her lifetime. And that is somehow going to question how this planet really relates to that protocol. I'm arguing here for 10 and more years what that protocol should be about and how that protocol ended to be treated on the planet. Just to hear yesterday some set of fraternity society related men decided to seize the protocol. Excuse me, would that be their right to decide about the protocol? Would that be their legal right? We talk here about, above all, someone's ability to defend its decisions. And if they cannot, should stop at once thinking that they have that kind of entitlement or legal positioning or legal right. I have to defend the protocol because it is provided me today platform to happen. If that protocol was not there, I could have not happened and this work could have not happened. To me, it is very much has become a question of my house. We talk now in much more absolute terms, and if we as a planet and we as a humanity are not incapacity to talk about more absolute terms, then we have obviously not understood sufficiently our own history, who we really are, and what kind of realm this is. People are very easy today to stamp things, to put raised etiquettes on the jar or whatever. Everything became enjarred, categorized, stamped, and positioned in certain places, as well as some kind of pharmacy. Again, it reminds me to rather tribunal societies that for quite some time are handling the identity on this planet as enjarred presences. Yet can we say that anything about life and living on this planet is about enjarred presence? I'm going to ask at once these people to stop considering themselves leaders of this world anymore. And if someone is to say that is these people that deliver still in 21st century such prime evil tribunal way of thinking and handling the human and protocol of life on this planet. I have found protocol monarchy first and above providing me much more absolute definition to my entire being and providing me enough absolute reference to my work, allowed me to immediately get my hands-on approach without wasting a lifetime to fight for position. And people fighting for position each time do not get to actually start the work because they spend a lifetime and lose life usually, fighting for their possession, for their freedom, for their right to talk and right to lead. And they never get to the point where they actually deliver the work. And I felt threatened, and I continue to feel threatened. And that is why I'm reaching monarchy, because I feel threatened on personal level. And I feel that such attitude toward monarchy disable this level of function, disable my right to deliver this work without wasting time around to prove my capacity to do so. Well, I'm actually doing it. And here we are for another day. I need to prove to that many people that I am doing the work, and they continue to argue with me as I do not even exist. Entire Europe today, each of these established countries have problem to refer to my existence. And again, that Russia and that Putin went further than anyone else, making enough references to my existence. I can imagine various oligarchs behind his back. At least they gave me certain kind of acknowledgement. No, I'm not going to here support oligarchs because we all know how they relate to the entire event, but I'm going to believe for a moment that might be a reason why Palestinians got melted now, because they was daring to show off to the planet that they are providing that kind of support. And I was the one not being happy enough to be called a child. I was not happy enough to be on some kind of growing or about to reach something while I am actually doing it. It wasn't good enough answer, but it wasn't that much of wrong for someone to be called wrong. It was not good enough. That does not stand for being wrong. And people are translating it as being wrong. Being not good enough does not stand for wrong. When on the other side, the wrong actually work in its direction for another day. And that is actually wrong. So I'm going therefore to conclude. No one have a right to close the monarchy of England, especially because I have been especially directing my entire work on moving in that direction. I also do not like to see princesses there taking over power more than I would give them. I have talked here about Protocol Excalibur. I don't know for whatever reason, but that has not been, hasn't happened. And because it hasn't happened, I'm going to find inappropriate that princesses of England continue to lead a day ahead of me on the back of my own work. So I'm returning this entire attention to Queen Elizabeth and after Queen Elizabeth. And I'm not stepping up neither to Prince Charles, neither to princes of his sons, because I talk here about the protocol monarchy, not about the families. And the protocol itself exists on parameters of Excalibur. And I give full credit to Queen Elizabeth for at least, from my perspective, giving to the world in last century that kind of face value. And although she was not talking that much, her face was talking enough. Her face was talking integrity. And that was guiding this world for a century. Of course, the face value is not going to be good enough. But I have something. I have something to connect to. I have something to continue from. Face value is still something rather than nothing. It's still something. It still gives me this kind of foundations on which I can continue. And that is why I'm going to argue with you. You do not have right to proceed on matters that are not in your jurisdiction, speaking in some kind of more eternal and absolute, on some more eternal and absolute matters that most of you, if I might probably say none of you, have managed to understand them properly. You have not managed to understand these matters properly. When it comes to matters of energy, matters of spirituality, matters of invisible, matters of value system, matters of historic heritage, matters of duration of identity and integrity as a civilizational prerogative, when it comes to metaphysical presence of this world. None of you. I have defeated you all. I have defeated you all. Effortlessly. Because I exist and I am real, and what I speak and how I feel about these matters is real. And that is why it is effortless. And it is wrong, it is hard for you because you are not real. So do not talk to me about artificial intelligence.